Hello, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the book Joyland by Stephen King, and I feel like it's kind of been a while. I don't know if it's been that long, but I feel like it's been a little while since I've just done a straightforward book review. Nothing I had was super exciting me to talk about one way or the other, so I feel like I'm usually only inclined to really want to review something if it makes me feel some type of way, and this book definitely made me feel some type of way. So I am going to be talking about some spoilers in this, just a fair warning. I'm going to warn again once I really hit those spoiler moments, but I feel like I just want to lay that out there and let people know that, like, I'm probably gonna talk about some things that happen that you might not want to know. So if you haven't read it yet and you don't want it to be ruined, you've been warned. Anyway, let's just talk a little bit about a summary. This book follows a young man named Devin Jones, I think. Yeah, Devin Jones. And he is a college student who is having a summer in between semesters where he gets this job at an amusement park called Joyland. Yeah. They said the name of the book. Anyway, so he gets a job at this amusement park, Joyland, and at the time he has his, I think, like, first girlfriend, first love that he's really crazy about, but she's been acting really distant, and that's kind of like, it's part of the main plot, but obviously that's not super important to the mystery components, but I do think for, like, the human aspect that's important. So he's trying to get over this girl who, like, breaks up with him, his first love, and he decides to take this job at Joyland, and then he actually ends up staying on after the summer, and he meets his two, like, lifelong best friends at this job, Aaron and Tom, who end up dating and later getting married. Erin works as a Hollywood girl, which are these girls that walk around the park in, like, short dresses with cameras and take photos of people having good times there, which is kind of a fun idea. I like that. And Tom is another just random park helper, sort of like Devin. So it kind of follows their summer there, and there's this really sentimental aspect to it. I maybe didn't mention this takes place in the 1970s, so I feel like there's this really sentimental vibe to this kind of mid-size amusement park that we maybe don't get to see as much anymore. Obviously a lot of the big parks, like, put these mid-size guys out of business, but I feel like there's just this really nostalgic tone to the entire story, starting with, of course, the whole entire plot and where it takes place and the time period, and it's just a really nostalgic vibe. So I guess I'll just get into the review. Honestly, that's probably the thing I like the most about this, is just that nostalgic vibe. It feels very much in the moment in the 1970s, and I really appreciate that. I think that that was a very cool component of this. Part of the plot is that this girl was murdered at Joyland on this ride called the Haunted, I don't know, it's like a haunted house ride. I think it's called the House of Horror, but I might be wrong. It's some sort of haunted house ride. She's murdered just on the ride, like, in the middle of a crowded day. Her throat is slit and she's, like, thrown off the edge, and that whole thing leads into this idea that this house is haunted by this young woman who was killed. Devin kind of gets really interested in this. That's part of why he stays on after the summer, and he wants to find out, like, who did it, because it's this mystery. They never really caught the guy, and so he kind of is trying to figure out who did it, which is also helping him get over his girlfriend, I forget her name, whatever, that broke up with him. And he's really having this weird kind of summer of getting over that and trying to figure this out. Erin is also helping him figure out who did this. And that part I really enjoy, but I have to say, if you're looking for a straight mystery and a lot of horror, this is a slow burn. A lot of it is about people. It's about relationships. And I actually really enjoyed that the horror and supernatural parts were really subtle and used pretty sparingly. I felt like that made the ones that were there more effective, and in general, it just lent it a little bit of realism. It felt like a story that someone you know would have actually told you. But I'm here to warn you that if you really want like a deep dive into a super intense mystery, lot to unravel, and a lot of horror and supernatural aspects, it really doesn't have an excess of any of those categories. But it's definitely more like relationship driven. So if you like that, I think you'll like this a lot. If you don't enjoy that and you're way more into like a very layered mystery or even like supernatural aspects, this might not be the read for you. And I actually think this might be why so many people seem to not have been talking about it and seem to have overlooked it a little bit. It's just not like super heavy on the supernatural. It doesn't have like the craziest mystery ever or like a crazy twist ending. The ending has like a little bit of a twist, you could say, as to finding out who the murderer is, and so that's kind of a spoiler alert. Maybe I won't say who they find out it is, but it's, you know what, yeah, I'm spoiling it. They find out who it is. It's kind of unexpected, but it's not like so out there. And I think that if you're looking for a real crazy ride of a mystery, yeah, this isn't it. The prose and just the way that it's written was so, so nice. It did feel like a story that somebody you know would tell you. And again, combined with that super nostalgic time period, that super nostalgic setting, I think that that makes this such a nice read. And it's actually, because a lot of it takes place like summer and early fall, I think that it's a great read for that time of year, which is obviously coming up sort of soon. Also worth noting that because of this relationship-driven plot, and kind of character-driven plot, it definitely is a slower burn. Keep that in mind. Even as someone who was enjoying it, I was probably about halfway through the book and I was like, nothing has happened except that we know the story of the girl who died in the haunted house, but nothing else had really happened. Like, no one had seen her yet. Yeah, I don't think anyone had even like seen the ghost until like at least halfway through. We didn't understand anything about like intuition or anything until at least halfway through. And I don't know if it's just me, but that felt a little bit late to be introducing those things. It kind of worked, as I said, in the context of the book, but even for me, that felt a little bit too late to be introducing those things as like the first time somebody saw the ghost that we knew as a character. The first time we kind of knew about an intuition, and especially the little kid. Oh yeah, the little boy Mike. Like, we don't even really get to start building that relationship until, again, I think it's over halfway through the book. But I did enjoy the development of the character Devin, and I feel like it's also very, again, nostalgic and relatable to have that first love that's so rough and difficult to get over. You almost have to do something really wild, like take that job at Joyland or whatever. You have to do something really like to get over that and to push yourself to get over that. So I appreciate that really the whole reason he got so invested in this mystery and close to this place was really because he's trying to get over that. That felt like kind of a realistic reason, and it just also felt really relatable. In that way, it's sort of a coming-of-age story, but it doesn't have quite the same amount of melodrama that a lot of targeted coming-of-age stories have. I mean, it's still Stephen King, it is what it is, but it's got those coming-of-age vibes, and I, again, really thought that it was done well. It wasn't melodramatic. But that's something to be mindful of. Maybe if you're not super interested in coming-of-age type books, you wouldn't like this. He did do a good job of writing from this point of view. I don't know the math, I don't know how old Stephen King is, but I think he was probably a similar age in the 1970s, like 73, 74, around that age. So it probably wasn't that big of a stretch for him to just reach back and try to remember those feelings. But yeah, I overall really enjoyed it. Again, highlights nostalgic tone, character driven, just a good read. Lowlights, probably that it took kind of a while to really get into the mystery, horror, supernatural components. And I think even though I enjoyed it, I will definitely list that as a criticism. Another positive, I appreciate that those were used sparingly. Like, it wasn't excessive at all. And again, that just made it feel a little bit more like a story your dad or something would tell you. But yeah, I think the biggest drawback was just that it took kind of a while for anyone to really like see the ghost or for any of that to really come out. And it took a while and before Devin met Mike, but in the context of the story, that kind of made sense. I don't think I have a ton else to say about this, but I would definitely be interested if you've read this book, or if you haven't read it yet, I hope you didn't watch this because there were a lot of spoilers. But if you've read this book, let me know below what your thoughts were. And yeah, I think that's gonna be pretty much it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you later. Oh, like and subscribe.